the most important thing that, the most important point that I want to make around this is if it's really, really, really hard for you and you feel like you're struggling, something is wrong.
That is a snippet of what we're going to be discussing today. Hey there, Maureen here, founder of the Mindsight Academy, neuro coach to executives, leaders, entrepreneurs, and a neuro leadership trainer using insights from neuroscience to help you deliver results by learning to work smarter, be in control of your brain, manage yours and others' emotions, change behaviors, flourish, and exceed expectations. Welcome back to another episode of Lead to Excel podcast. I am so thrilled to be with you today because I'm so excited to be joined by Jill Cruz again as we continue in our part 2, our discussion on achieving weight loss by working with your nature. But before we get into that, remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it, because it will help other people find it and give them the opportunity to understand how they can rewire their own brain to enable them achieve their goals. So without wasting any more time, grab your cup of coffee or your drink or whatever that might be. Put your feet up and listen in. I'm so excited to be back with part 2 with Jill Cruz. Last week, we talked a lot about weight loss. You know, what you need to do, how to pay attention to your body. This week, we're actually going a bit deeper now and bringing it, actually going full circle. So without wasting any more time, Jill, it's so great to have you back. After the part 1, I did say to myself, no, we've got to do a part 2 and actually do it immediately so that I don't want to do it later, so that people can really flow with the message, because you've got such an important message to give people. You know, we all need it. I need it so much. I've learned so much just from what we talked about the last time, really being able to pay attention to myself and my body. So I'm just going to get you to introduce yourself again. But if you're listening to this podcast and you've not listened to part 1, go back and listen to part 1 before coming into part 2. But just for the sake of those that are just coming straight in here, Jill, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. I'm very happy to be here a second time. I so enjoyed the conversation we had last time. So my name is Jill Cruz, and I am a board-certified nutrition specialist. I have a Master of Science in Nutrition, and my business is called Work with Your Nature Weight Loss. And really what we do is we work with women, typically women who are looking to lose weight, and they've been struggling with yo-yo dieting for a period of time, and they're tired of the fad diets and all of that. And so the reason that my business is called Work with Your Nature is that I believe that a lot of weight loss strategies out there are doing the exact opposite. So my endeavor is not only to understand the physiology, biochemistry, biology of our bodies, but also our the behavioral science, neuroscience aspect of it, and what makes it easier for us to do this process, not harder, because most of the diets out there actually make it more challenging.
Yeah, and Jill, I think this is why I got really excited when I got to understand what you do, because you're right. A lot of times people just focus, I call it focusing on the symptoms, focusing on the dieting, but you go to a place that really touches my heart. The behavior, it's what's going on inside our brain. And that's really what drives us. And that's really what would make it sustainable. So let's get into it. When we spoke the last time, like I said, we talked a lot about doing. Now, what about those that have tried every diet, which is tried all the yo-yo diets going up and down? And I'm one of them. I've tried different things that haven't worked, the drastic ones, oh gosh, Yeah. What happens when people have tried so many diets, and each time they're back at square one? In fact, most times worse, they actually put on more weight or feel more unhealthy or don't even exercise at all. Why does that happen, and what can they do?
So when I talk to a potential client, or if I'm at a party and someone asks me this question, it's part of the conversation is distinguishing between a metabolic issue that's really making the weight loss very difficult and a series of so-called failures, what you're describing, right? Dieting and then gaining the weight back. Is that more due to behavioral type of stuff? Is it less about your the body's inability to let go of fat and more about maybe you just chose the wrong approach? Maybe you didn't stick with it long enough. Maybe it was just too extreme and you couldn't stick with it long enough. So there are really two possibilities. And my job when I speak with people is to distinguish between those two things, because there's a big difference. And it's not always clear to me or to the person which one is going on. But the most important thing the most important point that I want to make around this is, if it's really, really, really hard for you and you feel like you're struggling, something is wrong. Something needs to be changed. It's not a matter of, oh, you just need to be a stronger person. I don't believe in that. I believe that, either metabolically there's an issue and we can talk about that, or maybe you need more support, or maybe you just need to slow down and not think about losing weight for a while and heal your relationship with food. It should not be that hard. Nobody should be eating 800 or 700 calories a day, working out an hour a day, suffering and being miserable. Nobody should be doing that. There's just no place for it, in my opinion.
Wow. Thank you. That means a lot to me personally, because, it means a lot to me because that's what we do. I've done that so many times. And it's a case of, okay, let me just do it and get rid of the weight and it all goes. But it's not sustainable. And you said something that is really important. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah.
And if it is difficult, it's finding the reason why it's difficult. And that's the foundation of it. Because if you don't find out why it's difficult, you just keep trying every diet going or repeating them. And I'm a member of a group. This is a dieting group. And it's so interesting. Someone introduced me to it and I got into it. And I started seeing people that had done it 3 years ago and have put on more weight and are back to start all over again. And then people that did it a year ago and, and are putting the weight back and are coming back. And I'm going, no, come on here. If people are doing this, have done it before coming back, then it doesn't work. So why are we doing the same? Why are we doing the same thing all over again? And that is when I kind of realized that actually it's nothing to do with diet. It's me. I have to make sure that I work on my brain first. And I think one of the things I ask myself is, why do I want to lose weight? And I think it comes back to that. So how do you help people in terms of actually answering that why, or bringing them to the place where they, ask themselves that question? Because you did say that it shouldn't be that difficult. If it is, it could be one of two things. Let's deal with the one thing that it's not a health issue. We'll come to the health issue later. It's not necessarily a health issue. It's just someone that is trying it and keeps going back to it. How do you help them come to a place where it now becomes something they want to do as opposed to something they have to do?
Yeah, and that's an important distinction right there. I think that's a part of the conversation, is because the truth is there are people out there who need to lose weight for health reasons, or they want to lose weight, or maybe they have type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular disease or whatever, and they know they know it's important for them to do it, but they're just not committed. They're just not ready. So the commitment is a very, very powerful thing if you really use it as a tool. And also the recommitment, because all of us fall off. even I fall off. I'm a nutritionist. I have my days where I don't eat perfectly. Actually, I never eat perfectly, but I have my standards, and so I just recommit, and that takes the pressure off. I think there's so much around this. There's so much, but starting with a commitment is really important, and also starting with, as you said, the why. Why do I want this? And we can think about long-term goals and things that we want to accomplish in our lives, the way that we want to live our lives, less pain, more physical, being able to be more physically active, all of that stuff. A lot of that is sort of in the future, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I don't want to age like my mother did. The problem with that, and I'm sure you know this, Maureen, as our brains are not really designed to favor the 5-10 years from now. We favor the present. And so we also have to find day-to-day motivations, things that we can commit to, things that we can get excited about. So, for example, my biggest example is nighttime eating. And one of the things that I realized was that if I ate late at night, it took me longer to fall asleep and my sleep wasn't as good. That's an immediate feedback loop, right? A negative feedback loop. So I actually set as a goal, I don't want to eat late at night. My motivation is I want to fall asleep faster and I want to sleep better. Like that was really important to me. For some people, it's their belly gets bloated, or
that's
or if they eat sugar, they get night sweats or hot flashes. So finding those, and if you don't have that sort of negative consequence, find a positive consequence that's very soon, within the next couple of hours, the next morning, something that's going to drive you. Another thing that I have is, especially Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do strength training. And I know that if I eat a lot or if I drink alcohol the night before my workout, I'm tired. And I don't want that. So it motivates me. So it's great to have long-term goals, but we also need to find those really up close, almost immediate goals. And you can also give yourself a reward. So one of the things that I do, I don't like getting on the elliptical, but I know I need to do that for my cardiovascular health. So what I do is I get on the elliptical and then I reward myself right after that with a dance class, which is fun. It's pure fun. That motivates me. So I think those short-term things are really important, but you got to be committed. If you're not committed, it's not going to happen. And that's fine. Sometimes we're not ready, and that's okay too.
Wow, Jill, because what you're saying here, what I'm hearing is so powerful, because a lot of times we separate our health or our weight loss and all that, we separate it out into a different category of its own.
Yeah.
So we kind of live our lives, we do our goal setting, we plan for our business, we plan for our lives, we plan for our careers, we plan all that. But when it comes to our health, we don't, because what you've just described is exactly what I teach in terms of goal setting with the brain in mind for leaders and business owners. Set your goals, have the long-term goal, but break them down into small goals. And it's those small goals that will keep the motivation, because each time you succeed in a small goal, you're releasing the dopamine, that reward. You're giving your brain a reward to say, yes, I've done this, which is what you've just described. Once you achieve one, you've got a reward for it. And then it helps you, it keeps you motivated to move on to the next stage, which is so important. So, oh gosh, it's really interesting, because, and I think for everyone listening, it's a case of really looking at our and it comes back to self-care, taking care of ourselves, putting ourselves first and foremost, and don't put every other thing. We do our business and all that, and that matters to us. We set those goals, we are committed to them, but not to our own bodies, which is really interesting. And you talked about recommitment. I like that, because that gives us permission to know that, what, we might get it wrong, we might fail, we might fall off the wagon, but it's okay to find to pick yourself back up and continue. It doesn't mean that when you start something, you won't fall off or you won't get distracted. No, but the important thing is it's because we're aware that we could fall off. When we do, we recognize that we've fallen off quickly and then get back on. But it's the lack of awareness that leads people to fall off and not realize it till it's too late. So just knowing that we've got permission to recommit, I think is so, so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. I was listening to you, I was just nodding so much. Yeah, go on.
Well, I think, part of the problem, especially for people who've struggled and failed before, is that first of all, if you go into Instagram, you see these perfect, all they're showing is the perfect part of life. They're human. We're all human. Nobody's perfect. And actually, I take it a step further and I say, expect and even welcome those failures, because in that failure is a lesson. And it's and that learning process, like think about a baby learning to walk. They fall down, and that's part of the process. It's literally part of the process. Without it, if you think you're not going to do that, I don't think that exists.
Exactly.
But the important thing is to still love yourself and still say, okay, what can I learn from that? And if you have done 20 different diets over the past 20 years and you feel like you've failed, that's actually that was your journey. It's not fun, it's hard, but what can you learn about yourself and about your body from that experience? So the recommit is very important. And I think just the forgiveness, the self-compassion, like what would you do if that happened to your friend? Oh, it's okay. You can do, like, we talk to our friends and even strangers much more kindly than we talk to ourselves. So it's there's a lot of trauma. There's actual trauma that's occurred with many, many, especially women. And we're expected to just brush it off and take on the latest, popular pill or diet or whatever. And that's not the work. That's not where the work needs to be done. As you said, the work is here.
It's really up in the brain. And you see, it's true. A lot of women have gone through a lot of trauma, but worse is that we actually inflict a lot of trauma on ourselves by what we think about ourselves, by what we tell ourselves. We are inflicting more trauma on ourselves, which is so sad. And I like what you said, in fact, how you started this whole conversation on the behavior, because everything we're talking about now comes from what's going on in our brain, the thoughts we're having, the way we see things, that communication we're having in ourselves, because that is what leads to the behavior pattern that we then exhibit. That is what then leads to us, trying things out and then it not working, but really not learning from it. So I just love the fact that you said that every single failure or of any form of diet or anything we do, there's a lesson to be learned. And it's using that lesson to help us to then get better. And I think just telling ourselves that alone is fantastic. It's so liberating, because then we're not going into it with so much baggage and pressure, but knowing that, you know what, I need this. This is why I need to do it. And I'm human. I can't be, nobody, like you said, is 100% all the time. There are times and that's the way to learn. If we don't make mistakes, if we don't fail, then we're really cruising. We're not really growing. So, no, thanks for that. So what we're really talking about here is personal growth in terms of, how we view dieting, how we view the whole process of weight loss. What can you really say? How do you help people really, build their personal growth when they come to see you? How does that play out? How does it work?
It becomes part of the process One of in my business, I work with two other nutritionists. The priority is for us as practitioners to provide for lack of a better way of putting it, a safe space and really be there for our clients and just listen and accept and really provide that love that's unconditional. Because I think that's where it's a big part of the work that we all need to do, right? Is to love ourselves unconditionally, no matter what. And that is always a journey. I'm on that journey. I have to remind myself every day. And I think that's a big source of personal growth. The forgiveness, the self-compassion, those are the real meaty, juicy areas that are just a life work. But it doesn't just happen. Self-love, self-care does not just happen. We have to work at it. And I think you can look as you're growing and you're doing more self-care and being more gentle with yourself, gentle and loving, meaning forgiving yourself and also taking the time to exercise or eat well, right? Both of those are expressions of self-love. Doing both of those, and then a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you can look back and say, wow, I've come really, really far. And I used to struggle with getting up and walking in the morning, and now I walk for an hour every day. Wow. That's not just a physical accomplishment. That's an emotional accomplishment. That's the way I see it. And there's a lot about this personal growth, and it's also individual. For some people, it's just about forgiving. I'm thinking of a client right now who, if she can just not eat cake, she feels like she's making a progress. So everybody's in a different place. Maybe for someone else, they want to do a triathlon. So I think the important thing is that you're moving in the positive direction, and at the same time, you're allowing yourself to be human and forgiving yourself and not taking on too much, so that now it's impossible and you start failing and feeling like you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I think you touched on a really important point. And there's a saying that goes, it's repetition that rewires the brain. So it's by repeating it over and over that it becomes a new behavior pattern and becomes a new habit. So that, a year later, you look, like you said, you look back and you go, wow, see how far I've come. It's so easy for me. And, a typical example is when you start riding a bike or driving a car, you've got to think of everything you're doing. So in this case, it might mean that you've got to really think about what you're eating, when you're eating it, how you're eating it. It's learning, and that's a process. And like driving a car, it takes time. Sometimes you might go for your test first time and not even pass, but you keep going till you're there. And it's the same thing with dieting. It's just keep going. Fall, get back up and keep going. And till it becomes a habit. It becomes that behavior pattern that is so embedded into us, that it's so wired in our brain. But it's so important to remember that it does take time. It's a repetition that enables the wiring to occur. And that is what will help the old wiring which is the bad habits that we've picked up over time, to then either go into archive or just degenerate and disappear. So that is just, I think, a fantastic point. That is so good. So I know, Jill, okay, before I go on to this, actually, there's the other aspect of people who've done, tried diets and can't lose, even as much as they want to. And we know that in some cases, it could be a health issue. And I think it's just worth mentioning here that it's so important to be able to identify, which it is and seek the appropriate help. Can you just touch on that briefly, please?
So it may be a little bit challenging for an individual on their own to assess which one it is.
Yeah.
Even when I'm on calls with people, sometimes it takes me a good 30 minutes to really kind of figure it out. And then even sometimes, okay, let's try and see what happens.
Mm.
Um, so the most of the weight loss blockers, let's say metabolic, actual physical challenges that people have, are related to hormones. Most
Mm.
of them. Sometimes, if someone has a lot of inflammation in the body, the body kind of wants to hold on to the fat tissue and keep the blood sugar elevated. The immune cells that are promoting the inflammation, they use glucose as fuel. So
Yeah.
they like it when the blood sugar is elevated, and that
Fine.
will block weight loss. Sometimes it's GI issues, gastrointestinal issues,
Mm.
usually relating to inflammation as well. But for the most part, it's hormonal. So it could be
Yeah.
too much insulin, which creates insulin resistance. It could be stress. Stress
Mm-hmm.
is huge, a huge potential blocking factor for weight loss.
Mm.
It's completely ignored in your typical commercial,
Yeah.
media type outlook on weight loss. It's ignored completely, but I've seen it in action.
True. It's
I've
true.
seen it in
Yeah.
action many
It's
times.
so true.
I've seen insulin resistance in action. I'm
Mm.
eating, the person's eating 800, 1,000 calories a day, and they're exercising, and they're just simply very, they maybe lose a little bit of weight. It's a
Yeah.
real struggle. So when that happens, obviously you need to work with a healthcare professional.
Mm.
One thing is, a lot of times doctors aren't willing to explore this, which is a challenge.
Yeah, which is a shame, but it's true.
It's a change. It really is. It's a shame. Also, thyroid can do that. If your thyroid
Yes,
is
that's
underactive,
true.
it
Mhm.
can, because it's very, thyroid is very important for your metabolism.
Metabolism. Yeah.
So there's a lot, but there are people who food is not always enough. I've worked with people who were eating well. Like, if I was eating what they were eating, I'd be losing weight, and they're still
Mm.
struggling.
Mm.
So, there are some people who just need to work harder. Unfortunately, I'm
Mhm.
sorry to
Mhm.
say that. I wish that it
Mhm.
could be easy. I could wave a magic wand, but
Mm.
if you're really working on the diet, but you're not exercising, you're not physically active, you're not sleeping well at night, or you have a lot of stress, those areas could be explored and worked on first before you run to the doctor and start asking for all these
Yeah.
labs. I know
Yeah.
it's not fun. And then again, thinking about time, right? So if it took, if you're someone who, when you were 20, everything was working fine, and then you slowly started working harder, being more stressed, not sleeping as well, not eating as well, and then 30 years later,
Mm.
now you want to lose weight, that's 30 years of
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
abuse. I don't know if abuse is
Yeah.
the right word, but just not taking care.
Mhm.
You're not going to unwind that in a 3-month
Quickly.
crash
Yeah.
diet. You're just not.
Exactly.
It's a more of a time commitment. And that's why at that point, what I say to people is, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and I don't think this is bad news, but you may see it this way. But right now, your focus needs to be on your health, not on the
Mhm.
scale. Let's shift away from the scale. Let's
Yes.
not even look at the scale. So
Yeah.
maybe, what can you do to nourish and care for your body? Maybe you need to get more sleep, and just focus on
Mhm.
that for the next 6 months. Because it's these habits, they take time.
Yeah.
Exercise, stress management, and sleep are very, very important. And they tend to be a little bit more challenging sometimes than the diet, because
Mm.
it does, if you're going to bed at 1 a.m., it could take you 6 months to get to the point where you're going to bed earlier and waking up later, whatever it is that you need.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's not fun to hear, but in a way, as you said, liberating, because
Yeah.
now, you know what,
You
it's not your
know.
fault. It's
Mm-hmm.
not your fault.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of redirecting your attention to something
Yeah.
else and
Yeah.
being patient and being, again, like forgiving yourself for whatever you've done to get to where you are now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, no, thank you. Exercise, stress management, and sleep. And I like that because that really brings us almost to the end. Just remembering that it's not just about dieting. It's not just, in fact, I don't even like using the word diet. It's not just about what we're eating or losing weight. It's a whole package of things. Hormones are a big part, like you said, a big, have a massive effect or impact on how we feel as well. So it's really, if you can work with someone, it's probably the best way to start, because a lot of times we are so wired in a particular way that we just need other people to help us, hold us accountable, support us to get to the place where we want to be. And focusing on health, I think, is the best message for everyone,
Yeah.
every single person. Focus on health and not on the scale. And that is a good way to really bring this to an end. I know, Jill, you're running a group cleanse. For those that want to attend, or can you tell us more about it and how they can enroll and register to attend this?
Sure. So it's a 10-day cleanse. I have a page you can go to sign up for it. After that whole conversation, we're talking about a cleanse. So feel like I should address that for a moment.
Yes.
This cleanse is for people who feel like they want to get a little bit of a kickstart. It's a finite period of time where you do kind of focus on the diet being pretty clean and all of that. We use a kit. So there's smoothies that you do every day, and you kind of clean out the sugar and the alcohol and for some people dairy and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit of a cleaning up, but it's not a long-term solution. It's just, okay, let me give my body a boost of energy. Usually when people do this, they feel great toward the end. They start to feel a little bit lighter. Everything works a little bit better, even your metabolism, that sort of thing. So it's a fun thing to do, but it's really just a short kind of kickstart.
Let me just jump in here before you go on. I think the cleansing is so good and so important because, based on everything we've been talking about, doing the cleanse kind of gives you that start in a way to say, okay, let me just get rid of all this. And in the process, why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I want to be healthy. I'm doing it because I want to get rid of toxins. I'm doing it because I just want to feel great about myself. And once you start with that mindset, really focusing more, not so much that, okay, this is a short thing, I've got to do it, because it's just the beginning. Focusing on that and reminding yourself that I'm doing this for my health, and this is a start of me looking after my health. I think that is a great way to go into cleansing, because, and then once you do it, it's then carrying on the process, focusing on health and not, so, because I know we've been talking a lot about not doing anything, short and drastic, and it's the end. This is really great as a start, and then helping you in the process to start the process of rewiring your brain to enable you create the behavior patterns that you want to achieve at the end. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's not a crash diet. It's the purpose of it it has nothing to do with weight loss. It's just to really clean out the cells a little bit, and it's not that long. And it kind of builds up in the middle too, and we're doing it as a group. So it's a fun experience, and it does take some effort and restricting yourself a little bit, but I don't think there's a problem doing that for short periods of time.
I think it's great.
And for the specific purpose, like you said, of health, not, well, I need to lose 20 pounds.
Exactly.
That's a different mindset.
Yeah. So I'm going to put the link in the description for anyone that really wants to find out more about this group cleanse. But also, I'm going to put Jill's details in the description as well. So if you really want to talk to her to find out, how do I start? What do I do? Just link up with Jill. She is amazing at what she does. And I'm sure you all can just see and hear the passion that she has for really helping people. And that was really what attracted me to Jill, because I was in the same group with Jill in Elevate, and just hearing her talk about what she does, it really, it really encouraged me. So thank you so much, Jill, for these 2 episodes you've done with us, for taking time out to come in and giving us so much information. And I really wish you so much excellence in what you're doing, because you do so much and you know so much. And I love the way you connect it to our whole being, which is just fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maureen. That's very sweet. I appreciate your kind words. And I really, really enjoyed talking to you about all this stuff. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. Okay, 3 things before we finish today. Have you subscribed to this podcast? If you haven't, make sure you click that subscribe button wherever you listen to this podcast, because once you subscribe, you will not miss an episode. And as usual, if you have a topic you would love me to speak about or bring a guest on, do let me know by leaving a review. Finally, do have a fantastic week. And remember that you are limitless. So I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Bye for now.